The piece Melody 15 was simply written at age 15. That's why it's called Melody 15. Been sitting around for a long time because it needed a really good professional orchestrator, and also the modern sounds, as there was no money to actually pay an orchestra to go play it. So looking on the internet, I tracked down Christopher Siu, and it turned out to be a really, really good thing. Christopher's got a super high level skill set in orchestration. It was a particular piece he'd written and orchestrated called Determination. After hearing that, I immediately contacted Christopher, and he was kind enough to accept the challenge of taking what was a fairly basic orchestration and trying to recreate it. I asked to have it recreated initially just because I wanted to make sure he could keep the feel of the epicness. That is my signature trait, to create an epic sound. He managed to do that perfectly, so then the quest became to orchestrate it with his professional set of skills in order to give it a professional sound, so that the melody itself and the orchestration could match any other pieces in that style.
Hey everybody, how's it going? In this video, I wanted to talk about something that I'm really excited about because this is a project that I've been working on for a client of mine. His name is David Marshman, and he's an excellent guitarist, very cool composer, and essentially he sent me one of his tracks and asked me to rearrange it for Epic Orchestra. And his only condition was to try to remain as close to the original as possible, which is a little bit of a challenge, right? Because on one hand, you're trying to incorporate these epic elements and all that to take it to the next level, but you're also trying to still get that original sound that the composer gave you, right? So what I thought I'd do is I'll actually play through his version, or the track he sent me, and then I'll actually go through mine, my version of it, and then we can listen to that, and then we can talk about just a little bit of the stuff that went into recreating it. So this is what David sent me. Alright, so that's the original track that I got sent, and now I'm going to play my version of it, or my rearrangement of it. So here we go. Alright, so there are or that is my rearrangement of it. And so let's just go through and kind of compare. Here we have the intro, which kind of creeps in out of nowhere. There's a little bit of static, and then there's the timpani roll, and then you can hear that little brass there and a choir on top. And so what I did there to recreate it was I immediately pulled out my, let's see, where's my trombone? There we go, trombone ensemble legato, and that's what I used to kind of creep in at the very beginning there. And then rode the module to bring it up, and then combine that with the choir, children's choir, because it's a very high, delicate sound. And then these two tracks just continue on for the rest of the track. So those are the main two things that start off the overall thing. And then when the main theme comes in, so you hear that da, 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 da. That quality is quite shrill and very high. So immediately what I thought was piccolo. So that's what I used for this main melody. And this is a piccolo from Berlin Woodwinds, the main library. And then I felt it was a little too weak on its own, so I actually combined it with a flute 8VA patch, again from Berlin Woodwinds, so it sounds like this. Right? So now that cuts through a little more. Okay? And then in addition to that, I also put in a little bit of high strings, just to really give it that full, thick feeling in the melody. And then here, this is where the brass comes in the second part of the melody. So for the brass here, what I did was I used the Cinebrass trumpet ensemble, and I used their legato patch here. So it sounds like this. Now the only thing about this is that it doesn't sound very punchy and very in your face, right? And the legato is actually pretty loud. So instead of turning the legato down in the GUI, what I did was I actually layered it with another trumpet patch. And so here I used the Metropolis Arc 1 trumpets. But note one thing, when I play these together, it'll sound really good because the trumpet patch here is actually just sustained. So there's actually no legato. And let me just play it first. You hear that little choppiness? That's coming from this patch right here. And so that gives it that little marcato sensation, and it makes it a little more, steppy and a little less flowy. Because we want that type of marching cinematic epic feel, right? And that's what gives it that little bit of driving motion. So let's see, what's next? And in this second part of the theme here, where the brass comes in, I brought in the 12-horn ensemble from Cinebrass as well, just to give it thickness in the lower register. This works well with so many things, honestly, but especially with this type of music, it really shines. And then again, here I have it. If I take it out, right, just lose a lot of the power. And then right underneath that, I just have a little bit of harmonic support with more brass. And this is Bells Up from Berlin Brass. And then here throughout, I have the Cinebrass Ensemble sustains to give it more of a warm sound, a warm, thick sound, and the trombone is kind of just like in the middle there, just to balance everything out. So you'll notice, in general, I don't use string pads in this. I actually use brass pads more because they're more thick and, well, brassy is the word I want to use, but I think you know what I'm saying. I would tend to use string pads for a little more silky, for a more silky quality, for a more lush kind of thing. But this is more cinematic and more epic, so I feel like brass is more in your face. Now here the strings get to shine a little bit more, and you notice that right here I have some string pizzicato. I'll go back to the original here. You hear those in the middle. So to me, those sound like kind of electric guitar or acoustic guitar plucks. So what I did was I actually simulated that, but with string pizzicatos from Berlin Strings. Very nice hall sound from the Teldex scoring stage. Right? Okay, and speaking of guitars, here you can see I have 3 green tracks, and these are the aspects that are not orchestral. So the first thing I thought was really important to maintain was the rock element of it. So that's why I threw in the guitar power chords from Metropolis Arc 1, which sound like this. Dun, 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 dun. And if I take it out, right, just lose that bottom end. So it gives that bit of grit. And then the bass guitar kind of just outlines the bottom. Right? And then last but not least, we have a sub bass from Serum. It just activated the sub oscillator there. And there we have that really low, fat, meaty sound. Ooh, I can barely hear it. You're not really supposed to hear it, you're just supposed to feel it underneath, supporting everything. Some little percussion here. Now let's go on. So here, like, everything's happening. Threw in a little bit of harp there, you can hear. So brass, strings, everything. Now the strings take over. Everything's a little bit more lush, flowing. Piccolo comes back in, layered in with the choirs. Speaking of choirs, actually, I have 3 patches here. I have the children's choir, woman choir, and men choir. I believe the children's choir is from Metropolis Arc 2, and I have the female and male choir from Metropolis Arc 1. So what's interesting is that in terms of the panning, I pan the male choir to the right, the females to the left, and then I left the children up the middle. And that's because in his original, when we listen to the intro here, you hear that choir in the top there. That sounds like a children's choir, and it's panned straight up the middle. So I wanted to maintain that, keep the children's choir in the middle, but I wanted some stereo in, you know, for more choir parts from side to side. So that's why I threw in the female on the left and the males on the right. So altogether, they sound like this. Right, so it really fills up the frequency spectrum here. There we go. Panning is always a tricky thing because as you're producing, a lot of things sound good panned straight up the middle in mono, but you really open up a new world of sonic possibility when you start panning things left and right. And you know, everything you want to take center stage, you want everything to be heard. So it's not like you want to isolate anything to the left and the right, but you have to do it in order to support the main instruments. So that's key here. Cool. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions about the arrangement or anything like that, please leave them in the comments below. I'm really excited because you know, David reached out to me after I sent this to him and he really liked it, and he asked me to do another arrangement of it, but this time just go all out on it. So do whatever I want to it, make it as epic, as, you know, cinematic as possible. So I'm going to start working on that, and I'll upload a video next Thursday, discussing that compared to this current version, and so we can talk about that as well. In any case, if you'd like to send me some of your music to work on, I'd be more than happy to have a listen and reach out to you. And yeah, if you have any questions, anything, leave them down below, and I'd love to get in touch. So thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you on Sunday, and yeah, have a great day, guys. Thanks a lot.